Hey modders, I'm Reggie. I'm co-founder of supermods.com. What we're going to do today is go over the checklist that we're going to email you guys for your video tutorial and actually go over some of the tools that you're going to need to modify your controller. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the Security Torx T8 screwdriver. This is basically the tool that's used to open the controller from the back side and actually get those special screws out of the controller. Another important thing that you really should wear is your safety glasses. I know they don't look very cool, but again, they'll save your eyes from debris or solder spatter that could get in your eye. You know, we don't want you guys to injure your eyes, so you only get two of them. Next thing is your nips. The nips that we recommend you guys buy actually have a stripping feature on there for the wire that you guys are going to use. But again, any kind of nips that actually can cut the wire in a very precise manner will be fine for this activity. Next most important tool probably is your soldering iron, because we're going to be doing a lot of soldering iron. And again, we're using a 15 watt, which is very low heat. That way you don't damage the board when you're doing your soldering activities. You're also going to need some clear Scotch tape, and this is for basically holding the buttons on the controller when you go to prop it basically in two halves. If you don't basically tape down those buttons, they can fall out, and it really makes it a pain in the ass to put it back together. Alright, the next thing you're going to need is some electrical tape. Again, the electrical tape is used to basically isolate electrical signals from parts of the board and the circuit board for the actual controller, so you're going to need this to do some electrical isolation. You're also going to need a glue gun, hot glue gun with glue sticks actually already in there, and that's going to be for basically gluing in your tack switch to the actual controller body so when you press on it, it doesn't pop through. You're going to need two drill bits. One is a 7/32 and the other one is a 5/32. This is going to be for drilling your basically your communication port or your programming port into your reprogrammable controller. The other portion is basically going to do your tack switch so that you can put it anywhere on the controller, basically on the bottom or in the center like we showed in the tutorial for actually manipulating and actually operating your mod chip. You're also going to need an electrical drill, which I didn't actually grab for this, but I'll go ahead and throw a picture in there. Basically, I use a DeWalt or actually a drill press for a lot of my tutorials so that you can get a really clean drill through operation. You also need a small flathead screwdriver. You'll see a lot of these for basically eyeglass repair kits and things like that, and also you can find them in a hardware store. They're basically just really small, tiny, real fine flathead screwdrivers. I like to have a Phillips version of this too, because it's really nice for pushing down on things and holding it down when you're doing soldering or the hot gluing operations on tack switches. You also want a small tub of solder flux. This is only really used in one operation in the entire modification. It's really for attaching a wire to the LED, the fourth player LED, so that you can get basically a LED notification when you've changed modes and that type of thing. It's for basically enhancing the solder heat transfer into the solder joint so that you don't actually put it into the LED, the light emitting diode, and actually fry up the diode. Okay, I actually use a larger pair of pliers. We recommend you use needle nose pliers because they're much more fine and they help you kind of control basically any pair of pliers that you can hold the wires when you're basically stripping, or if you need to hold something, put it into place. I don't use these very often, but again, if you need to have a pair of pliers, it's nice to have those. And again, that's optional. This basically, the next couple tools are optional. A pair of tweezers is really nice for holding your parts in place. If you have a pair of those, you can find these in all sorts of stores. Another thing that we say is optional but is really helpful is a ruler. And that's basically because when you're cutting your wires to length, you want to know exactly how long they need to be so that you can route them to the proper locations. Last thing is a multimeter. This is kind of really basically a thing that might be needed if you have a miswire or you start having some electrical problems or basically the mod isn't functioning the way you expect it to. You can take this and actually touch on certain key points on the board, and we can actually run you through. We have a troubleshooting section that says what kind of resistance readings you should be getting out of the board. So if you have one of these, it's really going to help you figure out what's going wrong, if anything's going wrong. So this is kind of like your fallback insurance plan. A lot of this other stuff you really need for the mod, but again, a couple of these optional things like the tweezers and the multimeter and the pliers and things like that are really just there as aids to help you guys do your mod as quickly as possible. So that about covers it. If you can kind of get a semblance of these tools here for your mod, you're going to be able to basically complete the mod from first step all the way to the end without any major issues. Again, take the time to invest in your tools because you only do this once, but you'll be able to have these tools for other projects you'll have around maybe your house or maybe other hobbies or different modifications you want to do, maybe custom mods to your controller. So it's really good to take the time, spend the money, and get the right tools for the job. All right, this is Rad Reg signing out. Make sure you gather your tools and enjoy your mod.